there was a goldendoodle that I helped rehome a couple of years ago. His guardian reached out through a neighbor. She knew I volunteered with the rescue and had a network, and she needed help. The dog was young, full of the energy that goldendoodles carry, the kind that needs somewhere to go. And his somewhere to go every day was a small condo apartment, 8 hours alone. No yard, no outlet, no one home. He spent those hours doing what a dog with nowhere to put his energy does. He destroyed things, not out of spite. There is no spite in it. There is only a nervous system looking for the thing it was built to do and finding over and over that the thing isn't available. The guardian loved him. That was never in question. But love, in this case, was not sufficient. The household could not give him what he needed, and he could not stop needing it. She knew this. She had known it for a while. What she needed from me was not a verdict, but a path. He went to a family with a backyard. Time, people home, room to run and sniff and dig and do the things a dog like him was built to do. The last I heard, he was exactly where he needed to be. That story has a happy ending. Not all of them do. This is Under the Same Roof. I'm Jennyfer Tan, professional dog trainer and certified family dog mediator, and this is episode 16, the season 2 finale. This is the episode nobody wants to make, but I think everybody needs to hear. The one about what happens when it's not working, when the dog and the household are genuinely not compatible, when the relationship is costing both of them more than it's giving either of them, when the honest and compassionate thing is to name it. I want to be clear. This episode is not about giving up. It is about the difference between a hard stretch and a genuine incompatibility. About what it means to hold that question honestly, not on the worst day, not to avoid it, but from a place of genuine attention to what is actually happening. Because that question is one of the more important ones any of us can ask. I want to tell you about a second situation, one that is more complicated but more common than you would think. A guardian reached out to the rescue I volunteer with, not because the dog had come from us, but because they knew we had the network that could help. The presenting problem was that the dog was fearful of being touched by the guardian, but was fine with neighbors and dog sitters. On the surface, it sounded like a behavioral issue. A trust problem, perhaps. When I looked more closely, I didn't see a dog with a behavioral problem. I saw a mismatch between what the guardian had imagined dog ownership would be and what it actually required. The guardian was unprepared for the full weight of 24/7 responsibility. Not because they were careless, but because the reality of caring for a dog, consistently, through the difficult days, as well as the easy ones, was something they hadn't fully understood before bringing one home. The result was a cycle. The dog's needs weren't being met reliably. The dog responded to that unreliability with behavior that made the guardian more anxious. The guardian's anxiety made the environment less predictable. The dog's behavior became harder to manage. Both of them were suffering. Both of their mental health was deteriorating together. The dog wasn't fearful of the guardian because there was something wrong with him. He was fearful because the relationship had become a place where unpredictability lived, and he had learned to brace for it. He is with a different family now, one that had the time and the structure and the genuine readiness for what a dog requires. The consistency, the attention, the walks, the simple reliability of a household that knew what it was signing up for. That is what changed. Not the dog, the conditions. He is thriving. Neither of these situations involved a bad guardian or a broken dog. I want to stress that out, because I think it is the most important thing about both of them. The goldendoodle's guardian loved him. She simply could not give him what his particular nervous system and his particular genetics required. Recognizing that, and acting on it is not failure. It is one of the more compassionate and generous things a guardian can do. The second guardian was not unkind. They were underprepared, and the gap between what they expected and what was required became a cycle that neither of them could break from inside it. The dog's behavior was not the problem. It was the signal. The dog communicating, in the only language available, that something in the arrangement was not working. In both cases, the right answer was the same. Understand what the dog actually needs. Assess honestly whether the household can provide it, and if the answer is no, find a path toward something better. Not because giving up is always right, but because staying in a situation that is depleting both the dog and the family is not actually serving anyone. There are days when the load is very high, when my son is having a difficult stretch, when work is demanding, when the dogs need more than the routine can provide, when I am already at the edge of what I have to give, and everything still needs something from me. On those days, I have wondered, not whether to rehome my dogs. That question has never landed with real weight. But whether I am enough. Whether this urban condo, this busy street, this household that is sometimes more than its parts, is actually sufficient for two reactive dogs who need what they need. I wish sometimes that we had a backyard, a place where Roscoe could decompress on his own terms, where Ray could sniff and investigate without needing me to organize it. Urban life with dogs means doing more deliberately what a yard would provide passively. It is more work. On some days, it is a lot more work. But when I sit with the question honestly, not on the hardest day, but from a more settled place, the answer is always the same. This household works. Not because it is easy, and not because I have everything figured out, but because what we have built here over years is something that functions. The relationships are real. The bonds are genuine. The dogs are not thriving despite our household. They are thriving inside it. That answer does not come from certainty. It comes from paying attention, from asking the question honestly rather than avoiding it, and from trusting what the honest answer is. I think that is the only way to hold this question well. I am not going to give you a checklist. That is not what this episode is, and it is not how these decisions actually work. But there are things I have learned from my own household and from the families I work with that help distinguish a hard stretch from a genuine incompatibility. A hard stretch has movement, bad days and better days. Moments where things work, where you see the relationship functioning, where the dog and the family find each other in a way that costs neither of them. A hard stretch is depleting, but it is not only depleting. An incompatibility is more static. The hard days are not interspersed with better ones in a way that feels sustainable. The dog's stress signals are chronic rather than situational, not a bucket that fills and empties, but one that is always full. The family member's experience is not difficult, but workable. It is genuinely harmful. And when you look honestly at what the dog needs and what the household can provide, the gap is structural rather than circumstantial. It cannot be closed by trying harder or loving more. In those situations, rehoming is not giving up. It is making a decision about two lives, the dog's and the family's, with genuine care for both. It requires honesty, and it requires grief, and it requires holding the knowledge that doing right by the dog sometimes means finding someone else to do it. That is not a comfortable thing to say, but I think it is a true one. And I want to say one more thing for the families who are still at the beginning of this, who are standing in front of the decision rather than inside it. Earlier in this series, in episode 6, back in season 1, I talked about choosing a dog when you have a neurodivergent child, about why the breed lists miss the point and what the right questions actually are. questions about unpredictability, tolerance and recovery time, about the dog's relationship with noise and physical contact, about what unmet drive looks like in practice, and whether your household can meet it on the hard days as well as the easy ones. I said then that honest is the only place a good match actually starts, and I believe that more now than I did when I wrote it. The incompatibilities I've described in this episode, the goldendoodle with nowhere to put his energy, the dog whose guardian wasn't ready for what he needed, are real and they are painful and they deserve compassion. They are also, in many cases, preventable. Not through trying harder once you're in it, but through asking the harder questions before you get there. Understanding what this specific dog needs. Understanding what your specific household can genuinely provide. Closing the gap between the dog you imagine and the household you actually live in. The conversation this episode is asking you to have, if it's not working, is a last resort. The conversation in episode 6 asked you to have is the first one. In an ideal world, you would have that first conversation well before you ever need this one. If you're already in it, that's okay. The path forward still exists. But if you're still deciding, this is the time to ask the hard questions. Before the dog comes home, before the bond forms, before it costs everyone more than it needed to. We started this season in the beginning. The first weeks with Roscoe, the wrong questions, the things nobody's article prepares you for. We moved through routines and body language, and the accidental emotional support animal, and the meltdown nobody manages perfectly. We mapped sensory profiles and named the roles that grew without anyone designing them. And we end here, with the question that sits underneath all of it. Is this working? Not as an accusation, as a self-reflection, one worth asking regularly in good faith, with genuine attention to what the answer actually is. The families who ask it honestly, who are willing to sit with an uncomfortable answer and act on it if they need to, are the same families who end up with the relationships that are real, the ones that grew slowly, on their own terms, in the particular unglamorous way of things that actually last. That is what this season has been about, not the dramatic moments, the real ones. Season 3 is coming. We're going to widen the lens, out beyond this household, into the systems and the stages of life and the broader conversations that neither the dog world nor the neurodivergent parenting world is having yet. New voices, new territory, and some of the threads from this season that deserve more room than I could give them here. Thank you for being here for Season 2 of Under the Same Roof. I'm Jennyfer Tan. Understanding before strategies, always.